Welcome to the August 2025 edition of the Inside Nutley Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Greco. Today's guest is a former U.S. Navy SEAL, the co-founder and president of the groundbreaking company O2X, founder of the Children's Cancer Support Organization One Summit, a 2017 Nutley Hall of Fame inductee, and Nutley High School class of 1996 graduate, Adam La Reau. Welcome, Adam.
Thanks, Tom, for having me on.
Let's start with your Navy SEALs journey, because that's such an incredible accomplishment. Tell me about how that came about and what it was like.
Sure. I mean, it was for me, it was, believe it or not, I mean, I see all the Nutley stuff there. So I gotta, it goes right through my mind, but it's definitely something I wanted to do at a very young age, that was, truthfully, it was something that playing sports growing up, things that we wanted to that I wanted to do. I was very goal oriented. I wanted to go and serve my country. And that was something that I wanted to pursue, I wanted to go to a military academy. So I was definitely looking at Naval Academy, and a couple other pathways like ROTC, like what's the best way to go to SEAL training and then, get my commission because I wanted to be an officer. I could not think of a better pathway, a better honor to lead men in combat. And, if you're to be considered a leader amongst one of the best trained military units in the world, like that's something that, I was certainly aspirational about. It certainly was one of my goals, certainly something that I made like my life's focus. And, through high school, certainly interested into it, drove me to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, definitely an unconventional pathway to go into SEAL training. I definitely said I wanted to get my commission. I got my commission in 2002. At that point, no one ever directly graduated from the Merchant Marine Academy and gone to SEAL training before. You have to, because of your Federal Service Academy time, like you owe time in the middle. You cannot default from your officer commitment. You can't go enlisted and go a different pathway. Like if you went to like you say, like a different college. So I ended up getting, trained for 4 years, made a lot of contacts, really just trying to find a pathway to get my application to be considered to apply to SEAL training. That was probably like one of the bigger hurdles to find. Because basically, how do I get my application in someone that in a pipeline that I'm in that does not have a direct pathway or an avenue to apply? So I knew getting my commission, that was not an option. And then like what to put my package in, they say it's like it requires the physical test. Your physical testing is kind of like your SAT score almost. It's a baseline. So it's a big weed out. It's a swimming, physical activities like push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and then like a run in like boots and pants. So that's like a baseline, your recommendations that you have, people that it's like really a bigger application. Now they do like psychological screening and things like that. So quite a robust package and pipeline. And of course, you're getting interviewed by SEALs, not to mention when you're doing the physical testing, you have to you have to do it with other like basically SEAL instructors at the time or like, people that are qualified to do it. You can't just like submit this and like, fabricate your scores or things like that. So that was something that really, took a couple years for me to kind of get to the point where I felt confident enough to put my application in from the physical testing standpoint. And then I got picked up my senior year, December of my senior year, I got picked up. My application went in September 12th, 2001. So obviously pretty significant time. Something that like for me just continued to reinvigorate. 9/11 happened and it just was like I need to go. Like I'm like I need to get my commission. I want to go in the military. Our country's now at war and this is something that I want to do. And I was lucky enough to get picked up my senior year. I think about 800 spots for 10 off. There's 10 officer slots for 800 applicants. And I was had a lot of people get behind me on this and took a chance and risk on their reputation for giving the letters of recommendation. And then my physical scores were, kind of above where they needed it. That kind of set me aside from a lot of other people applying.
We've all seen, whether it's a movie or TV or now they have the reality series. I mean, it looks like the most grueling training ever. Is it?
Mm. It definitely met my expectations of the challenge that I was looking for. You're there with the people that are incredibly talented. I mean, you got Division I athletes, you have people that were swam in the Olympics, you have people that played water polo like professionally. Like you have like this wide range of, very athletic, fit individuals that clearly want to do that same. So it's pretty humbling. You show up and there's 200 people that deserve to be there. They earned their way there. And we finished with 18 original. So it certainly met the expectation. I think everyone kind of gets caught up into like the first phase of training. First phase is, it's like the weed out part. Like they're not really teaching you much. It's like they're putting you through a pipeline,
Right.
like a lot of soft sand runs, ocean swims, a lot of like kind of like beat downs on the beach, like logs, boats, things like that. And then, eventually the numbers start like weeding down. From me, my perspective, like I was definitely getting evaluated from like as an officer from a leadership perspective. So I'm going through and it's not just surviving. It is actually like, are you thriving through this and are you being a leader during this time? So you got boat crews and the instructors are all enlisted. So they look at it as, hey, you get through this training, and if you make it through, like you could be in charge of me down the line after this, making decisions. So you're basically your instructors are there really isn't many officers there as instructors. They're like more like the overall leads of each phase of each of the three phases. But the enlisted are basically evaluating you and be like, do I want this guy in charge of me when I get out of here?
That's pretty interesting. Now you did 7 combat deployments in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. What
Yeah.
was that like?
It's it was something that you certainly prepare for. I mean, I think the community is really good at preparing you for a job. You cannot prepare for everything. There's so uncertainty and risk is inherent in every combat operation. Everything's different. Like, to correlate it to sports, I mean, like you're playing on you're an away game every single time, and you don't know how many players you're going up against, and you don't know the capabilities. You do everything you can to kind of understand those things, but you just don't know what you're 100% getting into. The environment's different, the field's different, the atmospherics are different. So what you just do, you prepare yourselves, you train a lot. I mean, obviously we are, they put you through all that training up front. Not that you learn anything, because you really, when you get out, you don't really know much. When you go to your team and you're around people that are very experienced, you learn from the veterans, you learn from the guys that have been there for 2 to 4 years. You learn the guys, everybody that's gone before you. You learn about that history. You learn about more on tactics, on your internal SOPs, your own plays, whether it's diving, jumping, direct action raids, sniper operations, security work. Like you basically learn everything. You got a good fundamental like baseline, but then you learn everything when you're there. And when I came out, I showed up and their surge was happening in Iraq. Obviously, 9/11 happened. I've gone through training. It's more than just that pipeline. You go through like jumping training, diving pit training. You do a lot of more advanced survival school training. And then when you get there, then you go to your team, you get your on the job, basically OJT type stuff. You prepare for different environments. And then we had like a very consolidated workup because the surge was happening in Iraq at that time. And so lucky enough, I was able to go and like I didn't have that much long of a work. I had a 6 month workup and then I deployed. And so that was for us it was a good deal because we're like, this is what we wanted. Be careful what you wish for because this is what we wanted. And we were in combat operations like 6 months after I got to the team.
What's it like being in a foreign country where they hate you and I just can't imagine what's your mindset that when you're there and you have to be on the alert 24/7, right?
Mhm.
How do you, I mean, do they prepare you mentally for that as well? I mean, but even so, just, going from saying playing football on the oval to being in Iraq at war, what's the mindset? How do you stay sane?
Yeah, I think that's what the training is all about. It's all neck up. Physically, people can, Yeah, it's tough. It's challenging. Physical preparation does you help on the psychological side. But I mean, you're there and you're surrounded, you learn the value of team. You're all working together. If anything, what that training teaches you, trains you to, you're part of something bigger than yourself. You're there for your country. Your country, I used to love doing operations on holidays because like it just made me feel good that like as people are sitting in Nutley, New Jersey, eating their Thanksgiving dinner or opening presents in the morning, like if we can make it a little bit safer, like hitting targets at night overseas, like kind of made me feel like, hey, this is the job that was meant for me, that I'm doing my part to kind of help. And I think that everyone that I served with had a big, obviously a lot of patriotism, but they a thought that they were serving something bigger than yourself that gives us confidence. And then when you get in the airplane, helicopter, Humvee, whatever it is you're doing, you look left and right, you build a lot of confidence in the people that you're with. You're certainly on a pretty credentialed, qualified team, and you work really hard to kind of even the odds as much as you can on everything you're doing. You're taking advantage of every kind of piece of technology you have, but at the end of the day, it's the operator, it's the person, it's the human that behind it, not the hardware that you have.
You were awarded 2 Bronze Stars, 9 service and 2 combat ribbons, 3 presidential and 1 Navy unit citation. So obviously you have a highly decorated career. Looking back on that career, what comes to mind?
That's interesting. I mean, I spent the entire time, most of my time gone, when I like reflect on it, I reflect on like the relationships, that I had with, and opportunities I was able to, do a lot of things and meet a lot of people and, just an ability to like go back to like serving your country. And then we call like in the SEAL communities, like the brotherhood, like your brotherhood of like the people that you served with. Clearly, the people that, a lot of the friends and teammates that did not make it back, obviously we're a really small unit, but we're doing very kinetic things and the enemy gets a vote, right? There's not a day goes by I don't remember, guys that, are no longer with us. There's certainly a ton of remembrances, across almost every day of the year that there's something or every month to something to think about. But I respect it really is an ability to like continue to serve after you get out, right? And what is that thread that you really love? And like when I was transitioning, for me, the big part was like I love to serve. Like that's what I want to do. I want to be able to take my uniform off. I'm like, I'm not serving the country anymore, but like what else can I serve? It kind of drove me into kind of more of a peaceful transition and it wasn't seamless like any transition. Like I don't care if you're moving houses or apartments or whatever, like any transition, is difficult and challenging at times, but it was an opportunity for us to, for me to like really dive deep and reflect on my experiences. I had incredible mentors. I got an incredible group of friends that I can tell you that, a lot of times like my mother and father, well, actually, really, like my mom passed on my first deployment. But, really, when I was coming back to see my family, I always saw my friends from home, so it was an opportunity before I was going overseas or when I come back, it always pass through Nutley. And the group of friends that I have and the group of people that are around are super powerful from town, just it was just nice to just be home and around, good people. And so, a lot of things. One, so, frankly, just being supportive and having the community and people supportive of that family that's there as a foundation, and then just really the relationships and experience that I've had and the remembrance of teammates that are not with us.
Let's go back in the time machine. So were you born in Nutley?
I was, yep. Well, Belleville, Claremont.
Okay, well, that's the same thing, right? But you grew up in Nutley, right?
That's right. Yep.
What part of town?
So I grew up on a corner of Hillside and Kingsland Ave.
Okay, so Yanakaw or Spring Garden?
In a car. Yeah. I could walk to Ralph's Pizza, let's put it that way. That was my spot.
All right, I'm a Yanakaw baby myself. Believe it or not, my kids are Yanakaw babies. Go Yanakaw, right?
That's right. Yeah.
You remember the song? I don't
Yeah.
remember the song.
I remember Mr. Walker though. That's for sure. Yeah.
How great was Mr. Walker?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He was awesome. I remember like those when we we had the elementary school competitions, the basketball, and I remember like wanting to win for him so bad, just like win for Yanikov, but like he would come into, we used to love when he used to come into classes because he would speak, like he would derail the entire class, whatever. It was like history class, he just sit there and speak for like 25 minutes to the class. But if we can post some wins, against some other side of school towns, like
Yep.
it was always an exciting day.
What are some of your favorite memories of growing up in Nutley?
Uh, well, the people, the friends, the friends that I grew up with, like, everybody I played sports with, I mean, they're still there, right? I mean, they're still, or they're around, obviously not everybody still lives there, but playing sports was definitely a great memory, loved every minute of it, playing in, competing, a lot of good friendships. I remember like the travel teams and where we play like Legion ball in the summer and we travel around. I remember the club teams. Um, remember playing on the high school teams and like that. Those were like incredible memories. But the people separate, I think, Nutley from everywhere else. People are always blown away how close I am with like pretty much every single one of my high school friends, and they're always blown away. I'm like, that's just the town that I grew up in. I was lucky to be there. So that's certainly a highlight for me.
I know I ask almost all our guests this because it just seems whether it's, and I say this almost in every interview we do, whether it's Dave Merritt, coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, who lived here for 14 years, right? Or whoever, Joe Affinito, who coached here forever. People who have been all around the world, they seem to say that no matter where you go, you meet somebody from Nutley. It's like, it's crazy. Do you find that?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, absolutely, it's it becomes a small world. And then even to this day, like with clients and people that I work with and groups and organizations, like there is this very New Jersey bond that happens everywhere. I think New Jersey gets a pretty bad rap, and like when you're going around, you like run into, somebody like work that we're doing and people say, you say, oh, where are you from? I'm from New Jersey. Like that's like big part of like my identity. Like, I love, where we grew up and people are always ask where you are, but people always know Nutley for sure.
So you obviously you had a love of sports from early on.
Yeah. Yeah. My father, my father was a gym teacher at Washington School as well. Like obviously a long time ago. And then he ended up coaching the soccer team. So he was the first, he brought the recreation soccer there. He was the first varsity soccer coach in Nutley for the men's team. And so he grew up, my dad grew up in Albany, New York. He played baseball at Albany. And the fraternity that he was in, the way the story was, he's like the goalie got hurt. Like all the athletes were in this one fraternity, the goalie got hurt, and they needed a goalie. And they're like, he never heard of soccer before, and they're like, just don't let the ball go in the net. It's like you're playing shortstop, same thing, right? And then absolutely fell in love with it. So that's kind of where he picked it up in college. And so he brought that he brought the love of soccer. He got drafted, did his 2 years, and then came back. And then who my mom, who he met like across the street in Albany. My mom moved to Nutley, New Jersey. So my grandfather was a truck driver for Nabisco, and he ended up getting a job from Nabisco down and he ended up living in Nutley. So when my dad, after he finished college and after they didn't he the way he explained it, he's like no one really waited around to get no one got a job. You just kind of waited till your number was pulled. And he said he did his time, came back, and then he moved to Nutley and he married my mom. So that's kind of how they grew up across the street from each other since they were like, 10 years old. And then he
Wow.
just, that's how the family landed in Nutley and sports became at a young age. Both my mother and father, my family were big. And I got an older sister and a younger brother. My older sister played soccer. I played soccer and baseball. Um, and my little brother played lacrosse.
I'm pretty sure if I remember right, your dad, the soccer team all started when I was in high school. Because I do remember your dad, very well liked guy. I don't remember. I didn't play soccer, but I just remember he was always had a smile on his face.
Yeah.
Everybody always liked him.
Yeah. And my mom was a spring gardening school teacher for
Okay.
about second grade for 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a product of Nutley school system from all angles.
We had it up, we had it covered.
All right, so you go to middle school, you get to high school. Tell me about some of your high school memories.
High school was, that was a great experience. Playing soccer was awesome. That was a great experience. And playing baseball, like, I absolutely love playing baseball. We had some great teams. Like, I still remember, the state finals team. And playing the state finals game, my sophomore year, where we lost to Steiner, I think like 4-3 or 5-4, something like that. So that was like really memorable. That was like my sophomore year. We had some incredible sports teams, in particular baseball. And I mean, that was just it helped definitely, like, kind of shape, um, who I am today. Obviously, a lot of the teachers, a lot of the people that were, that were there, just a really great experience, great experience. And then it kind of set me up for, a lot of support, and a lot to apply into the military academies are a little bit different. I think, when I remember in eighth grade sitting down with the guidance counselor and saying, like, I want to go to Naval Academy. This is the direction I want to go. I want to go into service. And they're like, it's going to change like a number of times. And I'm like, I'm pretty committed on it. Like, this is something I want to do. Filling out the preliminary applications, and going through that process. It was like, it's just as long, right? It's like a 4-year process. It's not applying to SEAL training, but it's a process to kind of, get there. So, being involved in sports, being involved in the community, doing different things like volunteering, and like all that stuff was like super important, in order to, like, strengthen your application as these like very competitive schools. And so I had a lot of support and help on that. Everything from, where to get involved. And I actually didn't come across the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy until like much, much later. My dad cut an article out in the newspaper. It said, U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, said something about that. And we went over and go visit. And truthfully, I did not want to go there. That was definitely not, I was down at Naval Academy, saw how beautiful the school was down in Annapolis. It was big. It's like great sports, like, pretty amazing location. And then I went to the Merchant Marine Academy, which I never heard of before. So there's like West Point, there's Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Merchant Marine. And like that one is usually kind of forgotten about.
Right.
And it was like, not, I would say, not well funded, still to this day, not really well funded. Not many alumni. There's probably only like 20,000 alumni total, even though it dates back to World War II. Very interesting story about that school is that, the midshipmen during World War II, obviously the goods need to be transported overseas. So they were commissioning, and like they were going to college for 18 months, getting their commission as like in the merchant marine as like engineers, or like basically ship drivers, and then going out to sea. And if they survived, they would come back and they would finish their school, they'd finish their college.
Wow.
And so that there's a lot of history from the school back from World War II. So super gritty school. Like, I mean, a lot of like, there's definitely like turning wrenches and very hands-on practical, teaching you very unique things as a midshipman. And then you had to do 4 years of college in 3 years, because that 1 year of college you had to do about a year overseas on different types of ships in order to sit for your license exam senior year. So you're packing a lot in there with academics, regiment, training, all that stuff. It's just packed in, and most of the school played sports. So it was really fun to kind of have like a big, a pretty athletic school. Like, it was definitely an extension of just like a bunch of buddies you went to high school with that are that are in college. It's great.
All right. Speaking of high school, I'm gonna show you some photos. I want to get your first reaction that you get. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
I don't know if I like this game. Yeah, that's me. That's it. Yeah, that was I think I was like secretary of the class. Talk
Did you
about
get elected for that?
it was probably an uncontested seat, I'm assuming, for secretary of the class. But obviously just trying to get involved, I think, at that point. But good crew there. Nutley soccer.
Were
You had
you,
to really dig for these, huh, Tom?
were you guys good?
We're okay. We had a good crew. I think we won our games off of less on skill and more on hustle. I think our soccer team played a little bit more physical. I think we a lot of yellow cards.
All right, one more. There you are.
Yep, baseball. Great experiences with the team. I think you know, this is I think our senior year, I would
Yeah,
assume. Yeah.
yeah.
Coach Tom Gargiulo, I thought was an incredible coach, to us. He still continues to be a friend and
Any other mentors or teachers or coaches coming through the Nutley school system for that mean a lot to you?
no, I brought up Coach G, and teachers. I loved obviously like everybody. We talked about John Walker. Obviously that like really just from a young age that was incredible person. A lot of like obviously a lot of good coaches coming up to the people that are all involved, like all the fathers, like played sports for Ralph at times. I played, sports for a number of different our fathers, but like our core group, was just a great group of people, but great group of parents. And now kind of like working with like some sports and athletics, and you talk to some of the high level athletes, it's like not being necessarily a part of the best teams, but just surrounding them with great people. And that was awesome. Like that was really great. I think just surround people with great people, great coaches, great family, and I feel like Nutley gives that to you.
You do your active duty, you get out of that, you go on to the Harvard. How did that go? What made you choose to go to there?
Well, it was kind of like a Hail Mary in this way. It was like something that I'm like, I think I felt like it was time to transition. I was coming up for executive officer, which was like second in charge of the SEAL team. Um, and I got picked up for XO. I got picked, which was, quite an honor, but it kind of puts you out from an operational standpoint to it could kind of puts you into it like a more of an administrative role. So that was going to be like my next job. It's like going from, on the field to a little bit off. Like there's still operational sides to it, but it was a lot of time gone and it was just time for me to rotate. So, I rotated out. Put my application in. I felt grad school was a great way to transition, so I have some time to like reflect and think through some things. And it kind of like met my expectation. I took a night class, taking my GREs practice taking my GREs at night and taking to schools like work during the day in the military. Then figure Harvard seemed like a pretty good school to apply to, so put my application. But this program at Harvard was about social entrepreneurship, and it was about like I wanted to do a 1 year program. I wanted to fill some seams on a lot of the things that that I haven't had experience in, or I was like definitely a little rusty in. I felt like it helped me in transition, and I needed that time. Truthfully, I needed that time to transition and think about what was next.
You graduate from there, then did you directly go into creating O2X from there?
I did, yeah. So I had an idea on transitioning. Obviously, I bring up my mother. My mother passed 56 in 2004 from breast cancer. So I volunteered a lot during my time in with different nonprofits, mainly like Susan G. Komen, a lot of cancer foundations. As I kind of worked in that field, I saw a lot of kids battling cancer, and it seemed like pretty unfair to me. And I was like, all right, we talk a lot about resilience in the SEAL teams or being resilient or like the power of like that neck up. And that's something I wanted to do. So I had an idea of like merging these two worlds together. I see this incredible group of individuals that are doing amazing things on the battlefield. And I see this other incredible group that is amazing resilient. I see an opportunity to like merge these two worlds together. Um, and it was great. I started that nonprofit right away, and I started O2X, which is a human performance company. Do a lot of health and wellness training. We do a lot of performance training for mainly the tactical and the government space, and then even more so, a little bit in the corporate and the sport realm as well. So within 6 months of each other, I started both those.
And the charity is called One Summit.
One Summit, yep, and the for profits O2X.
Well, first, let's switch back a little bit. Tell me a little bit more about O2X. What specifically does it do? Who do you work with? and it's been successful. You're 11 years in now. So tell me more about that.
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously O2X, it was very interesting. For one, performance training is something that it was something in the SEAL teams that was discussed all the time. It wasn't just like shooting, moving, and communicating. It was like, how can you physically, mentally, emotionally be where you need with things on sleep and nutrition, conditioning, resilience, stress management, like healthy, everything that you kind of like read about nowadays, like that is like in the forefront of everybody's mind. This is something that like I took a lot of pride in. One, because when you're leading people in those high risk situations, you want to be able to make good decisions to bring everybody home safe, right? So I certainly cared about the training individually for myself, but then also your job as a leader is to take care of other people. So to be able to take care of other people, you looked around the room, and clearly there's a lot of impact from combat operations and being gone and gone and deployed, not only training but on deployments as well. And like we have to do a better job of taking care of ourselves, right? And it's not just like, it's not like a weight loss program for the SEAL teams, right? It's things that we need to like make sure that the most innovative, cutting edge curriculum, education, training, and specialists, like we have that at our fingertips. And and it's got to be packaged up so it doesn't add another job task to your day because you're training and you're doing so much work already. You kind of a little bit need the answers to the test, right? So you need to be able to like align, get behind it, get information, and then be able to execute on it for make you better at your job and to be able to for you to do your job as long as we can. Well, there's an aspect of this where I felt like there were a few things that were missing. For one, it wasn't really expeditionary. It wasn't like a facility, like it was very much a facility based like program where you had to be there and we were gone most of the time. It wasn't that customized and it wasn't like that scalable. There was like one or two people and we had like tons of people and support personnel that were using it. And eventually people just went off and did their own things. So that was a big part of like things that excited me about getting out and helping back. It was like, all right, like to be able to provide this information and to be able to take the best specialists in the world, package up the education, package up training, customize it for the different groups, and to be able to deliver it like efficiently and productively for individuals. Like that was something that was like an early idea. We wanted to build a brand. O2X means optimize to the X. So the X is like in the military was like our objective, our target. But like optimizing to the X, it was like be able to hit the target and then make it back and then be able to continue to do that, right? So we help people identify their X and for some organizations like police and fire, might be mental health, it might be reducing injury rates. It could be energy management. It could be things with family support. It could be bereavement. It could be critical incident debriefing, right? It could be leadership training, culture training. So we've done a lot. Obviously, the package continued to morph. We have like 350 specialists now. We have two different offices, one in Boston and one in San Diego. We're kind of all over the country, probably in like 29 different states. So working with all those different groups, we're learning a lot. We're seeing behind the curtain a lot of high performing organizations, and then we add a lot of value based on what their issues are. So it's no different working in sport as it is in corporate, as it is in public safety, but just their X's are different.
I know when we were setting up this interview, you told me you were working with the Dallas Cowboys. How'd you get involved with the NFL?
Interesting enough, got in contact with Dak Prescott, and through like basically one of his agents, and is somebody that we had a mutual friend, and clearly there's kind of like some sort of relationship formed there where we're able to talk about performance, and clearly he's a performer and wants to continue to perform and wants to win Super Bowls. So we kind of had that conversation, and then it like led to a lot of bigger conversations with the Cowboys. So we're lucky to kind of do a little do some work with them, not even a little but a decent amount of work with those guys, and great coaching staff, great players, and then like they're obviously incredible athletes. So I love taking our curriculum and working with like the top echelon of performance. We work with Olympic athletes too. We did USA hockey, we actually do US figure skating as well. Very interesting how that came about. But you know, if they're a high performing organization and they need help and they look for O2X, like we're all for
So if the Cowboys beat the Giants this year, we can blame you, right?
it. There's probably more to that than that, you know. But yeah, not I would not take full credit for that or even partial credit. I think the coach and the players would.
All right. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. But anyway, let's go back to what I think is probably closest to your heart. Is tell me more about One Summit and exactly what it does.
Yeah, so One Summit pairs children with cancer and Navy SEALs in a day for a day of rock climbing. So we're teaching them about overcoming fears of starting something new. We're teaching about goal setting. We're talking about, you know, setbacks and falls. We're building like that foundation for self-confidence and resilience. So it's experiential learning program. We run, you know, a number of events, mainly in 3 different states. We're in Massachusetts, Virginia Beach, and in California, but mainly in particular San Diego. So we do a number of different groups, number of different programs. Um, yeah, so it's great. It's like really just building the community and teaching the foundations of resilience. And the kids are amazingly resilient to begin with, even though they're going through struggles. But we're trying to give them some of their childhood back. A big part of it is when you get diagnosed with cancer, you get put you know, whether you're an athlete or not an athlete, you kind of get put into no one wants to like kind of uh, you know, risk you getting injured or hurt or expending too much energy based on the trauma that you go through based for the chemotherapy and the radiation and the impact. So, you know, it was a different and unconventional approach. You know, we looked at it from a way of like, how can we help these kids and, you know, even the fight against cancer and give them some tools. And it's been incredibly inspirational and it's been around for 11 years. I got an incredible director and um, an incredible team and like a ton of people from the veteran community, but also from families affected by cancer. It's not just that affecting the sibling or affecting the child that's affected, but we also do programs for the siblings. We also have things for the parents. So we try to involve the whole community and the hospital as well.
I mean, of all the millions of things you do, that must be the most rewarding, I would think.
For sure. I mean, it's a big part of like the legacy with my mother. Big part of you know, just continue to raise awareness. You know, doing something for the kids is like it is like some of the most impactful work that we do. And to hear the stories now they're like these kids are transitioned and a lot of them have successfully, you know, battled through. And I know not every fight ends in a positive way, obviously, as you can imagine, this type of work, but they've navigated through it. And like, you know, we have a lot of kids that are coming back and interning and supporting and mentoring. So it is really cool to see. They ask for letters of recommendation for college. Some are out in the workforce already. So we've been around long enough now that it's pretty awesome to see.
Great. How would families get involved with it?
Really there's an application process through the nonprofit through onesummit.org. So you can go to the website and they can like people that want to donate, people that want to volunteer, families that want to be involved, like they can go through, even mentors can apply through the website.
Fantastic. I'm going to read a short list of some of your awards. Give me a minute to read these because it's going to take a little while. Harvard's Robert F. Kennedy Award for Public Service, 2014 Light of Leadership Award, 2017 Distinguished Alumni Commencement Speaker for the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, 2015 Mass General Hospital The 100 Honoree, U.S. finalist in Harvard's President Challenge and Entrepreneurship Competition. What do those mean to you?
Um, you know, those are things are all like really, Tom, they're like so awesome to kind of have and kind of be rewarded for, you know, and people to nominate you for those things. A lot of those things were nominated by classmates or community. And so it's not, you know, that stuff, if it makes you feel good, but you know, I honestly, it's just you know, a lot of like hard work and a lot of people behind it, you know, like what it says to me, it's like, it's not just, that's not me there. Like those are awards that were maybe given to me, but those are things that were like earned on the backs of other people, and are able to, we go back to all the way through high school and the things and like the values and the ethos and the way you live your life and about taking care of people and my mother and father, everything goes back to them on giving a solid foundation and to be able to work hard and just keep your head down, do things you're passionate about, and just keep making the world, just leave the world in a better place than you found it.
All right, we're gonna do our quick hit section now. We do this with everybody. Just first thing that comes to mind, okay? Favorite Jersey Shore town?
LBI.
Why?
Why? Family vacations, super peaceful,
Okay.
and good memories from the family there.
Springsteen or Bon Jovi?
Springsteen.
Oh, that's unusual for your age. Bon Jovi's more your age, no?
Yeah, for sure. But it's Springsteen.
Okay. Giants or Jets?
Giants.
Yankees or Mets?
Yankees.
All right. Favorite military movie?
Saving Private Ryan.
You were elected into the Nutley Hall of Fame in 2017. Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, I mean, honored, completely honored. When you look at the group of, your group of, Nutley Hall of Famers there, and just to be considered amongst them, even just to be, you know, like nominated for it, I was honored. I mean, it was an awesome day. It was credit. It was definitely a shock. It was awesome to kind of, get that, and kind of hear about it and to go up there and kind of be at the Nutley Public Library where like we were just right across from, the high school and the Oval. I mean, it was just pretty amazing. It was pretty awesome to be there. And then the people that you're standing with, left and right is, pretty awesome. Pretty impressive stories and something that I would honor and truly cherish for the rest of my life.
You live in Massachusetts now, correct?
I do. Yeah,
Yeah, do you have kids?
I do. I have a 4-year-old, about 4.5-year-old boy and like about a 2-year-old girl.
Oh, there you go. You gonna bring them back to Nutley?
I think we're, I think we're happy where we are.
No, I mean to visit, not to live.
Yeah. No, you sound like my family now.
Well, hey, we're all family in Nutley.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's an incredible, it's an incredible place. But yeah, we're back now. My brother moved away, so he's still in New Jersey. My sister did too. So sometimes I see the guys like when I come through town. But yeah, of course, like when I'm in the area. Always swing through for a slice at Ralph's, or I swing by Pete's Deli to say hi to Mr. Tassay, and just to talk to, see some familiar friends and family.
What do you miss most about Nutley?
What do I miss more? I mean, hey, listen, I would, I'll say the right answer is like the people. Obviously, like running into people is always fun. Especially when you're in town, like there's never a place where you go out where you don't run into somebody and obviously you're connected. And then through family, if your brother and sister went to school there, then like know that generation. The teachers, the people that are around. So obviously it's great, but obviously you can't beat the food. I don't know, like it is incredible. Like the being home and every time I go there, like I stock up on like stuffed breads. And I like bring them to the freezer. It's not the healthiest trips that I do when I'm passing through those areas, but it's definitely something I appreciate. I try to, every time I'm with somebody, if I'm with somebody from work or I'm with somebody from, my family, like I'll bring them through. I'm like, let me just show you these spots. Like, this is what I'm talking about. We don't have this where we are now, can't get delis like that. So, those are always fun.
How has Nutley influenced your life?
Well, value family, value relationships, the friends you meet at a young age, will like friends don't come and go, and being very loyal and trustworthy. I think it helped like establish that. I mean, being a group of, like I said, you're friends with somebody, and I think that you come across a great group of individuals. Like literally, I've kindergarten or nursery school photos that I'm like in, like I got friends in that picture that I'm still friends with today. Like I just don't know if that happens too many other places, right? So, you value your friends, you value family, you value community, you have dinner at the dinner table with your family. Like I'm big on that. Like you sit down there and you have family dinner, right? And that foundation, your faith, like obviously I'm a believer in God, I'm a Catholic, and I'm going to church and faith and family and friendships. Like that's a foundation that it's like taking care of your neighbor type thing. I think that's what I carry with me from Nutley.
All right, last question, Adam. What are you most proud of?
It's my family, I think, for sure. Like, I have an incredible wife that's super supportive. Um, she respects and understands how hard work is, and she respects like that I gotta travel. I got two great kids, that are really young, but it's found so, I'd say I think the most special day of my life is when my son was born, and my second is when my daughter was born. But obviously, like pretty important is the day I met my wife, and the getting married. So anchor on family for everything for me.
Adam, first of all, thank you for your service and thank you for joining us on Inside Nutley.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. Really appreciate it.